Muhammad, the best defense in the heavyweight. The best move in the heavyweight. But Shorty man did it boxing. He beat him one time. Everything is possible in your life when you believe.
Douglas insists that he's going to shock the world.
This is the most trouble Mike Tyson has ever been in at this stage of a title defense.
This is the most trouble Jimmy's ever been at any stage.
When you believe, everything is possible.
Things in the uppercut. What an uppercut by Douglas. Down goes Tyson.
It's over. It's over.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
It's the greatest upset in boxing history.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, did we get disconnected from Malachi?
I don't see him.
Yeah, something happened here. I hope we're not live. Anyway, let me ask you something. That 96 team, was that the team with Oscar De La Hoya?
No, he was in 92.
Okay.
The year I was in 96 in Atlanta was with Floyd Mayweather, Nate Jones, Antonio Tarver, those guys.
Oh, okay. So you were on the Floyd team. I keep getting those two teams confused sometimes. Who was the head coach for that team?
Excuse me?
Who was the head coach for that team?
I believe it was Tom Coulter. He was one of them, and there was also I can't remember the other guy, the other coach off the top of my head. I ended up
hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. My fault. We'll get to that just a second. Sorry for the delay. Once again, this is Danger Zone Boxing Talk, the Final Bell podcast. I want to introduce my special co-host tonight, and that's Alex Ribeiro from Next Level Boxing Talk. And of course, we have Kid Vegas, Augie Sanchez, with former Olympic trainer, contender, one of my favorite fighters to watch when I was a kid coming up. I loved that fight with Prince Naseem Ahmed. We've talked about that before. Real fast, I'm going to kick it back to Alexis, because Alexis and Augie were having a great conversation back door. So you want to talk about what we were talking about before the show? Because I found that to be a very interesting topic, and then we'll go ahead and get into our topics for later.
Well, I Mr. Sanchez, Augie Sanchez, I felt told me one of the most profound things I've ever heard any boxer say, and a very honest self-assessment, where I wondered why his career was so short. He became professional in 96, retired by 2001, had 31 fights in 5 years, which is like an average about 6 fights a year. And I wondered if it was due to injury that he walked away from the sport. And so I asked him why was his career cut short? And Mr. Sanchez, your answer was?
Yeah, it was just for the just lost the passion for it. I just felt like it was just my time. You gotta love the job that you're doing, and going to work every day. And I just kind of lost that passion for it, and I just feel like it wouldn't be worth it, risking my life inside that ring if my heart is not into it. Obviously, I love the sport of boxing. I'm now coaching full time, and after my career, after I retired, I was also a coach for the 2016 Olympic team in Brazil, and so I I still accomplished my goal. I was trying to make the Olympic team in '96. I came up a little short in the finals, fighting Floyd Mayweather. So I became the alternate, but I declined that position and turned pro. But like I said, I did achieve that goal by going to Olympics in 2016. On the other side of the ropes, not getting hit.
That's
How long was it? Because you said you'd kind of lost your passion for the sport. How long was it before you got in? Did it immediately the switch over to trainer take place, or how many years later, and what brought that about?
Just maybe after like 6 months, or like to a year of trying to get back into it, trying to get motivated, training and running and all that stuff, and sparring a little bit here and there. In the interim, I was just not really into not really being dedicated to it, and I just felt like it was just I think that was a sign for me to stop and start coaching, and just trying to help these up and coming boxers and helping them and passing down my knowledge of the sport.
So what I found.
Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just what I found is so interesting about and refreshing about what Augie Sanchez just said is that there are fighters today, Keith Thurman in particular, who has been criticized as having lost the passion for the sport and just hanging out to the sport for the obvious paydays. And so to hear Mr. Sanchez actually talk about that feeling openly was just, I don't know, it was so relevant. It brings, for me, I'm not sure if the same would apply for others, but I just kind of like saw the Keith Thurman in another light, or if it's true that it applies to him and for others that are being criticized for that, it's like brings it more to reality that can in fact happen. So.
Yeah, and also too, just another point, I don't want to be labeled as a fighter who stayed in it too long. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to go out on my own terms, and so that's another reason also. I don't want to be labeled as a fighter who, like I said, stayed in it too long, and I didn't want to have to use a GPS to find my way home.
I just want to ask you, if you don't mind, Malachi. I heard a story. I heard an interview with James Buddy McGirt, and he was relating a story about the '96 team, something that happened where Pernell Whitaker, who was at that point, at the latter stage of his career, got in the ring and faced kind of like sparred Floyd Mayweather and I think Fernando Vargas and all. And he related this story. I never forget this story. He said that they were kind of like disrespecting him in a way, the '96 team, so those members, the ones that I mentioned, and he basically invited them in the ring to spar, and that not one of them could have touched them. I was wondering if you happened to be there that day.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I declined that position for the alternate position. Right. So I didn't even go to camps or anything like that. I really didn't want to be I wanted to go on with my career.
Yes.
And so I declined that situation. And this is the first time I heard about that story.
Yeah, Buddy McGirt said it, but go ahead, carry on, Malachi.
As I was just going to talk about, as you stated, you coached at the highest level of amateur boxing. Real fast, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who do you think was the best amateur boxer that you trained? through the Olympic team.
In the Olympics in 2016. I'll have to say Shakur Stevenson. He is just he's just a technician in the ring, man. He doesn't waste any punches. He takes his time. He picks his shots. So he's a dictator, man. He dictates the pace, what he wants to do, and so I would probably have to go with Shakur.
Okay. Now, from what I understand from you, you had said that you're ready to move into the professional ranks now.
Yeah.
What will be the difference in the way you coach, say, the amateurs and you will in the pros, of course? We know there's two.
Well, I mean,
styles.
to be frank, to be honest, the amateur program is actually leading more toward the professional ranks. Of how they're doing the scoring. It's a 10-9 scoring system. Basically, the most effective punches that you land are the what they're gonna score. They're not gonna count the pitter pat punches anymore. So if a guy throws 3 pitter pat punches lands, but if the guy who throws the power shot lands a big shot, he's gonna get the more credit for it. So now like I said, it's more leaning towards of the professional ranks. In regards to like any different, I feel like a lot of the pro is missing a lot of the amateur stuff. They create just waiting too long. They gotta stay a little more busy. I say with 6, 7 seconds, they should be creating opportunities and attacking off of that. When it goes to like 10, 15 seconds before throwing a punch, it's kind of it's too slow of a pace.
Now, what did you think about when they switched the rule to allow professionals into the Olympics?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what though? I'm gonna be real. The pros were getting whooped. A couple of the professionals got whooped, right?
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
No, I think it was one guy who was in the that I remember. It was in the.
Madame got knocked out.
Yeah.
There was two former world champions got knocked out in the Olympics by amateurs. What did you like? Were you surprised by that, or is that something you've seen coming, having seen? Because I've heard stories and seen sometimes that an amateur guy would give a pro a whooping in the ring, in sparring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just depends who the fighters were. They weren't top notch, professional fighters that were up there. They did have a few, like that No Do or something like that, Indu or something like that. He was from I don't know what country he represented, but I remember he was up there at the Olympic qualifier, and he ended up getting I think he ended up getting stopped, and but I don't know, man. I just think that but all the other countries did allow, except for USA. USA didn't allow like any of our professionals to compete. I think we're the only country who didn't allow it.
Was that asked a consensus decision? Like, were you guys asked whether?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a lot of I think there was quite a few like questionable people who were asking like why can't they participate, but they weren't they didn't ever.
No. My question is, were you guys like consulted on the decision to not allow them? Like, did they go to the coaches and say, "Listen, fellas, should we allow professionals?"
No, it wasn't really. It was from the USA Boxing. They they really don't ask the coaches for those kinds of
input.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because obviously we would say, yeah, let's do it. But again, it depends what what pros. I think Manny Pacquiao I think he thought about representing.
Right. Yes, the Philippines. Yes.
So,
yes.
But I mean, it didn't come through, obviously. because I mean, for like a big pro like that, I mean, a lot of reputation is at stake as well.
You know, there was a story, a little bit of controversy that took place on that 2016 team, as far as who representing Team USA, and the controversy, as far as I understand the story, is that Teofimo Lopez felt that he was slighted from making the team or by uh, Carlos Balderas,
Yeah,
and
that
he ended up going to the Honduras team
right.
because of that. I was wondering if you could shed a little bit of light on exactly what that situation was.
I mean, I don't know the specifics, but but at they were going by like the more of the like the points, like international points, like they're using the points of the WSB, the World Series of Boxing, and that's where Carlos Balderas accumulated enough points to take that slot, and so he had, I think he ended up having more points than international points than Teofimo, something like that. That's the gist of it, but I mean, I don't know the specifics.
I see. Okay, Malachi.
Yeah, there's something that's a little fast. Want to ask. We spoke about this the last time you were on the show. It's been quite a while since we've had a male win a gold medal in the Olympics. Do you see that as a trend that'll change here in the near future, or are we looking for a few more Olympic droughts?
Oh, man, as of right now, to be honest, I took this whole year off with USA Boxing. I've been just staying low here in Vegas and just coaching my team, coaching some guys down here, and
Well,
so I mean, I really don't know what's gonna
with us not allowing pros, right?
Excuse me.
I don't mean because with us not allowing pros. Last year, I know a lot of amateur fighters. They follow me and I talk to them and stuff. A lot of them who were thinking about going towards that Olympic goal have now went pro. Maximus Castro being one of them. He had contemplated going after the Olympics, but Corona robbed him of almost a full year of boxing and he turned pro. I know a few other stories like that. What is it you think we need to change in our Olympic system if we want to see more gold medals in the future?
I don't know. I just feel like there probably should be a little more incentive for the athletes in order for them to stay around. I think a lot of the good fighters are turning pro because obviously they have more of opportunity. They have bigger signing bonus or whatever the case may be. But I think that they give a little more incentive for these athletes. I think that a lot of them will be staying. A lot of times, like in that situation, we may not be taking the best athlete to the Olympics because of that.
Let's see, in your career, could you what was your highest high? I was looking at your you fought a Jorge Maromero Paez.
Yeah.
What was that? You beat him actually. He was a very grizzled veteran by then.
Yeah.
What was that like? How did you
Oh
get
man,
that
was like a dream come true.
Okay.
Because I mean, I used to watch him go when I was growing up, and I was like, I told my dad and my brothers, I'm like, man, that guy's good. I mean, he was, all his tactics that he did, and coming in with the way dresses and the way he cut his hair.
Yes.
But I mean, but he fought good though. He was a great fighter. So I mean, so that fight was like the fight that was going to either have my career go forward to open more doors for me, or basically kind of stay still. And
the crossroads fight.
Yeah, really. And so I mean, so we ended up taking that fight, and we came out victorious. And at the end of the fight, he told me that's the hardest he's ever been hit.
Wow.
I ended up stopping him in the 7th round.
Wow.
Speaking of hard hitters,
excuse me.
So speaking of hard hitters, you did face one of the hardest punching little men in boxing, and that was Prince Naseem Hamed. What was his power like? Was it as advertised like everybody thought? Was it like just bam, and you're like, wow, he hits hard?
I mean, there's this like the punches that you don't see other punches that can be more effective, right? And so I mean, yeah, he did. I mean, he hit me like one time in the first round. It was kind of like in the back of my head or like around here, and kind of like shook me up a little bit. And so I mean, I knew he had power from there. He probably was probably one of the most powerful punchers that I faced. But I mean, it was one of those fights like whoever lands the bigger shot is gonna win, because I had a high percent knockout ratio as well as he did. So it was like one of those fights who's gonna land their big shot.
Was it the hardest thing preparing for him? Was his crazy angles and his unorthodox style?
To be honest, I mean, if you see the fight, he couldn't hit me. He really wasn't hitting me with any really big shots or anything like that. When he did that, I was slipping. I would counter. But there was a situation in the fight where he came off the canvas and he hit me with a punch, and ended up messing up my thinking mentality, and my game plan was out the window, and it was just fight time, and that's where he ended up picking his punches, and he ended up getting me out of there. But it was I won't take nothing back. It was a great fight.
It sure was.
I know he remembers me. It was the best 4 rounds of his career.
It was very action packed.
Yeah.
Was there anybody that, because you had a lot of fights in a short time span? Was there anybody though you wish you could have gotten in the ring with that you didn't have the opportunity to?
I feel like I think what would have been some good fights would have been like me and Wayne McCullough, or like with me and Barrera, something like that. I think those would have been really good fights.
How about Kevin Kelly?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you there.
Kevin Kelly.
Oh yeah, Kevin Kelly. Actually, Kevin Kelly was my sparring partner to get ready for Hamed.
Yeah,
really.
I tell people this. The Flushing Flash was my favorite fighter because I was an amateur fighter, and he was my favorite fighter.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, I would love to meet him sometime, man, or have him. I would love to interview him because literally he was my favorite fighter for a very long time.
Yeah. You probably you should reach out to him. I mean, I'm pretty sure he will.
Yeah, I'll try to hit him.
He definitely was. Just getting back to that point about the preparation for Naseem Hamed, I believe, and I'm wondering if you your view on this as an outsider watching the sport. I think that one of the advantages that these unorthodox fighters have, the Naseem Hameds, the Manny Pacquiaos, not that I'm comparing the two, but as far as their unorthodox styles and their ability to hit you with a punch that you don't see coming. Right now, in boxing, there's someone who I think is also carries, in my opinion, that same type of unorthodox effectivity, which is Emmanuel Navarrete. So I'm wondering, how much would this unorthodox style play into, getting into the preparation of them? Like, how hard is it to find a sparring partner that emulates their movement, or is that even attempted? Like, do you get a sparring partner that says, move like Hamed to get me prepared for Hamed, or does that not happen?
Oh, I'm sorry. There were some guys coming. So you're saying the preparation, like
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm wondering is if you're fighting an unorthodox fight, so
yeah,
like a Nassim Hamed or a Manny Pacquiao,
right,
and in today's age, in my opinion, another fighter who has that unorthodox uniqueness to them would be Emmanuel Navarrete. What I'm wondering is when you get prepared to fight a fighter like that,
yeah.
do you get sparring partners and tell them, you know, to try to emulate their movement, or does that not happen? You just play
Well,
it by ear.
I mean, I think a good coach, you obviously have a game plan on what to expect, and try to get the best game plan, for that fight. But yeah, I think you should probably get other sparring partners that can try to emulate that kind of style. Um, but I mean, I think a good coach can have set up that game plan no matter really who he spars.
Really?
You got to adapt, adapt, improvise, and overcome in the ring. So, um, other situations happen. You could be preparing, for that, but you never know. You can make adjustments. He could change his style. He could go lefty, go righty. I mean, so many things can occur in a fight. So, um, just having you gotta make adjustments. You can't fight one dimensional. I think having a great game plan is great, but you gotta be able to be uh, ready to make adjustments as well.
As you move into and morph into a professional, a training
Yeah.
training professional, what would you say your strengths are, and what, if anything, do you feel that you bring that's new to that arena? Like,
Right, and that's a really good question because I feel like nothing has ever. I mean, I don't think I see a lot of these fighters from now and from before, and I feel like a lot of fighters nowadays. What I would change would be to create opportunities. Really show the feints, creating fading up, fading down, showing right, show left. Really getting your opponent off their game plan, off their rhythm, off their timing, and setting up your shots. I feel like a lot of fighters are just going through the motion. They're
mm,
just reacting to one's reaction, so they're not really ahead of the fighter. They're, like I said, it's going back and forth, back and forth. And if he happens to land a shot that wasn't really, set up, it was just a reaction, um, which is great. I mean, obviously he won, but it wasn't really planned. I feel like,
mm,
uh, that's why I like to, help my fighters. If I would, go into the pro, I would tell them, I am training one professional right now. He's 1-0. And I'm instilling that in them, just to outsmart your opponent, create opportunities, set up your traps, take away his best asset, um, and capitalize off of it. And like I said, and I feel like a lot of fighters nowadays are not doing that. Like I said, they're just reacting, and not setting up. They're just going back and forth, back and forth. Now, not all fighters, but some of them, like Shakur Stevenson. I feel like he's an exceptional fighter. He does set up. He does, like I said, he dictates the pace. So I mean, and so as well. One of my favorite fighters right now is Terrence Crawford.
mm.
Because he does that. He fights righty. He fights lefty. He sets up. I can see that he's setting up. And I can appreciate that when I see a fighter where I can identify what he's trying to do, and it's just really really nice to see that, as opposed to, like I said, just going back and forth fights.
That sounds like you're really bringing something new by harkening back to uh, the old school, because I think that's what the old times trainers, the old time boxing trainers were really about. Am I wrong
Yeah.
about that? There was more of a science, a tactic, a deception that
Right.
they would
You gotta
that they
agree with
would
that, 'cause
use.
I think that
Yeah.
a lot of trainers that I don't see now are teaching the actual sweet science. The
art.
combinations are beautiful, reading's beautiful, but they're not. It's the whole hit and don't be hit aspect in some cases is not being taught.
Yeah, you get. I mean, what I teach is you get, have purpose of what you're doing. Have a reason why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go in. Like I said, don't just go through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I always try to instill in my fighters. Don't go through the motions, because, like I said, you're just reacting to one's reaction. Set up. Show your feints. Back in the day, you mentioned the science, and and back in the day, yeah, they did feint, they did set up traps, but there's much more. Like me being a coach now, and being internationally and seeing these other coaches, and getting a lot of knowledge, and just being a real student of the game, and coaching. There's so much more feigning than just using the arm shrug. There's feigning up to the head, feigning down to the body, feigning right, feigning left. Really using your footwork, and so that's why what I would implement to do more of is a lot of that, because sometimes, like, when you have a good fighter, and he's fast, and he has quick hands, and then how if a guy who's just a guy who's a brawler, how is he going to get in, right? So what I would have him do is show the feints, because the guy who's usually fast are counter punchers, right? Just an example. Guys who are fast-handed, and those guys who are fast, they just react. They're not really setting,
Correct.
they just react. So, me knowing that, I would have my fighter show the feints, feigning a lot of feints, because eventually they're gonna bite, and then they can leave themselves open, and then you can capitalize off of their counter. So basically, kind of like counter puncher, right? So, but not taking punches, not taking unnecessary punches they don't have to. So like I said, that's what I implement is a lot of feigning, and landing the power shots, not just pitter pat shots, like craning up and down, landing the big shots, slipping counter, or meet same time punches. So that's where I implement is a lot of creating opportunities and landing the hard punches, not just going through the motions and just landing pitter pat shots.
Let me ask you a question. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, go ahead, Alexis.
No, I was just wondering. I don't know if it's not such a bright question, but I was wondering: are there defensive deceptions that can be used in boxing, or that have been used in boxing, or that you've used in boxing, where you let a person think that they've gained some advantage, or can get to you with a particular punch, and you let them do what they're doing until you can catch them.
Well, everything is timing, right? So so that goes back to identifying their opening, take away their strengths. Okay, if I know a guy who's throwing he has a good right hand, or he has a good hook, I want to make him throw that shot.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to take that punch away. So either you put your head out a little bit, or drop your hand a little bit, just to make him think that he can land that shot, right? So you want to be steps ahead of your opponent. You don't want to just be one step. You want to be like I said, you want to set up the traps, and it could be multiple it might be multiple rounds before you actually set that up, because little by little you're chopping them down, you're taking it away, and then next thing you know, in the 8th, 9th, 10th round, you finally land that big shot on them, and all along that's what you've been trying to set up.
Real fast, as a trainer, when someone comes into your gym that they don't have any experience at all, and you're building them from the ground up, do you take them like their fighting style? Do you let it come naturally to them, or do you recognize, this guy he comes in, has an aggressive attitude, but he would be a better counter puncher or boxer puncher? Is that something that you let naturally happen, or do sometimes you go in and say, hey, let's change your style to this?
I kind of just go by the like when I show them the basics and the boxing stance and the basic punches and then going to combinations on the bags, on the mitts or whatever. You can kind of get a feel like what kind of just by their body motion of what kind of fire will be best for them. If a guy comes in here, he's 6'1", I'm not gonna try to teach him how to brawl. I want to teach him how to box, use his length, use his reach, make fights easier for himself by utilizing his attributes. And vice versa. If I see a guy who's short, I'm not gonna try to teach him how to fight long. So I mean, but again, you make adjustments, and I think, like I said, not to say that I'm not gonna teach them other styles, because like I said, you got to be able to make adjustments in that ring. So I mean, eventually, once we get to that point, then when I feel like he's progressed in that style where I want to teach him, okay, now let's teach you a different style, different strategies of teaching. Because you don't want to be a coach that's one dimensional, just one way. Obviously, a good coach can identify that and have a game plan. You want to have a fighter who can make who's unpredictable. Basically, like I said, one of my favorite fighters is Terrence Crawford because of that. It's hard to have a game plan for someone who can fight everything, who can fight inside, who can fight mid-range.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought it was. All right. So we're about to get into some topics. You're going to stick around and talk some boxing with us, or do you got to go, Augie?
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta be. I'm sorry, but I gotta head out.
Okay, no problem. Is there anything else you want to ask him before he leaves, Alexis?
Just the name of the fighter that he's training, and just one more thing about, if you don't mind, about the training itself. I'm just wondering. I have this notion that there are, two types of trainers. There's the one trainer that it's their way or the highway, and tries to fit all the fighters that walk in his gym to fit into his style, which I believe, and I'm not asking you to be critical of. I know that it's a very sensitive, it's a small bit, it's no small world, but in my estimation, that's what somebody like Sanchez, the guy that used to Abel Sanchez, who took somebody like a Ryan Martin and wanted him to fight like Triple G. It was like, the guy had athleticism off the wall and was definitely another type of fighter, but he kind of, I believe, didn't do well for him.
Yeah.
And then there is another type of coach that kind of like works within the framework of what the fighter has naturally, which I believe one of my favorite trainers is for this is James Buddy McGirt, who I've seen him train so many different styles. And why is it that it's so many different styles? I believe that he just sees what the fighter natural tendencies are and what his strengths are, and tries to just shore up their weaknesses or make what they do already even better. And am I correct in that observation? And
No, that's
where do
exactly
you where do you see yourself as?
That's how I, I feel like that's how I am. I try to see what's the best style for my fighter, and capitalize off of their strengths, and and then try to if I do see a weakness, okay, let's see how we're gonna utilize that to our advantage. Because every fighter has a weakness, right? And no one's perfect. Boxing is an ongoing learning sport. It's never ever gonna be mastered, but the more things that the better off you can be in that ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can make the adjustments. And if you're a one-dimensional coach, it's you're gonna plateau to a certain level and not progress. So I mean, yeah, I feel like even as a coach, you gotta have a versatility, right? You gotta be able to make adjustments and try to pick out what's best for your fighter. What's the best strategy? What's the best technique? What style is best for him? Some guys are not brawlers. You can't make them what they're not, right?
Exactly.
And some guys are not boxers. So you have to try to improvise. You gotta see what how you're gonna make that work. You gotta be able to do that and pick out the strengths and capitalize on the flaws to help them grow.
Thank you. Thank you for
figure it out.
Real fast
and what's
before
the
you
name
go.
of your
Before you
fighter?
go. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, what's the name of your professional fighter right now?
His name is Jolando Ta'ala. He's actually from America Samoa. He was actually on the America Samoa national team, and he was trying to make the Olympic team this last year. And
what's his weight class?
Yeah, 168.
That's fire, right?
Yeah. Earlier, before you go, earlier, I'd asked you who you thought was the most talented fighter that you had seen and had a hand in training in the Olympics. I was a little shocked you didn't say Clarissa Shields. Having trained Clarissa Shields and seeing her success, is she the best women's boxer of all time?
I mean, I only trained her for just for that probably for about almost a year. I guess I was working with her. Not one-on-one, obviously, because we had other coaches who were working. So I mean, I really couldn't get into like her style or try to make adjustment for her style. She is she fought the way she fought. She has a lot of natural talent, man. She's she was a hard worker. She has really good hand speed. Good work ethic inside the ring. So I mean, she's I really I really don't want to comment on that. If she was the best ever. There's a lot of females.
I think she is. I'm gonna be real. I think she's the best woman boxer in the history of boxing. I think that if she was a male, she would be a megastar, and she should be a megastar. She's our last gold medalist. She's boxing royalty, just like they hated on my man Andre Ward. Even my man down here, he hated on my man Andre Ward. But Andre Ward is American boxing royalty. Where do you rank? Just go out that Andre Ward all time, because a lot of people bypass him. I'm like, a lot of all time lists. I look at him and I say in my mind, from 2011 to the time he retired, he has as good an argument for the best fighter in that period as Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao does, because he beat some very good fighters. He took their titles, and he didn't fight any of these guys necessarily outside of their prime. Or maybe you could argue, okay, Kovalev the second fight. But when he took them straps at 168, he did his business, and he gets slept on a lot. What do you think? Do you think that later on in like, a few years past, and we'll appreciate him more? Or you think he's just a guy that'll always be overlooked when it comes to all-time status?
Yeah. I think that I think maybe the only reason why though is because he really didn't do all the talking. He really didn't like talk all that trash. To like for people to like hate on him or I can appreciate his style. I mean, I love his style. But
I
if
thought he
it
was
was
very complete because we've seen him. He could win fights on the inside. He turned
yeah
into a dog versus Danny Green. Put his head right up on his shoulder and
yeah
fought him in a phone booth. He could box. Andre Ward did everything. He was complete. Manny Pacquiao, as great as Manny Pacquiao is, he was still in his last fight making fundamental errors that he made throughout his career. I mean, it's just the truth.
What?
Andre Ward was complete. He was a complete fighter. He could do whatever he asked.
Okay, but guess what? With all due respect, right? There's an entertainment value that has to be part of the sport that adds to your greatness, and sometimes your flaws is what makes you great and the way you overcome it. So as far as Andre Ward, it not only was his personality comparable to drying paint, but also
When he fought, I don't know. This is an argument. Well, this would be an argument that would go on all night. I'm sure my man, he's got to go. He's got to go. But Augie, as always, it was a pleasure having you on and talking boxing with you. You want to tell everybody where they can follow you all over social media, and even tell people in Vegas where they can come down to your gym and
oh yeah, they come down. I'm training at DLX Boxing Gym now, here in Las Vegas, and you can really just kind of look me up on Instagram. I'm on there and on Facebook as well. But yeah, they want to come down and learn something new and different and fresh, and and I bring that. And so I mean, they're more than welcome to come and give me a try.
Great. Listen, God bless you, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you. It was a pleasure and an honor to talk to you, and I will never forget your honesty and self-evaluation. I mean, it really, really, really touched me and awakened something. I think there was a spiritual value to what you shared here, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And maybe in the future I'll come back on again and we'll talk some more.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always a pleasure to have you on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down, and we'll get into our topic. And once again, and thank you, Augie, for coming.
All right, thanks, guys. God bless.
God bless you. Wow.
All right.
That was great.
That was an awesome interview. And real fast before we get into our topics, you want to tell everybody where they can find you and what you do over there in Next Level Boxing?
So thank you for that opportunity. Yeah, my name is Alexis Rumbero on Facebook. I have a page on Facebook called Next Level Boxing Talk. It's hashtag Next Level Boxing Talk. I have a little YouTube page that's also by the same name, hashtag Next Level Boxing Talk. It's a very, it's a very small page. I talk about.
Well, you should be a troll. Let's be honest. You should be a boxing troll.
Listen. No, wait a minute. Let's stop right there, because I don't know what people's definition of a troll is, but I feel that if someone is telling you the truth, he's not a troll. They're just telling you something you don't want to hear.
No, but you would come into it.
Wait a minute. Can I just say, for me, trolling is somebody who's obviously, lying and on purpose. I don't do that. I never did that. ever.
I didn't say you did that. You did not necessarily, but you did come with some controversial opinions and very strong in those opinions. And
Yes, and they were right.
you had a tendency, and it was funny because I knew you were a hardcore. I'm like, he's a hardcore fan. He talks to him with the boxing. He's a hardcore. No. That's your persona. That's your persona. You can sell that bull crap to someone else. You ain't selling it to me, bro.
Brother, I'm telling you, I am what the dictionary's definition of a casual is, not what a boxing page's definition of a casual is. In boxing pages, a casual is somebody who doesn't know anything about the sport and just knows like the big names and things like that. A dictionary's definition of casual is someone who doesn't take things too seriously and only pays attention to the things that they pay attention to, which is me. Like, for example, I'm not gonna be running around trying to see every single fight, and I know that there's some, fights that, I call it for what it is. You understand? I'm not gonna get into that type of thing. For me,
no, I mean, you had a tendency. Hey, I don't mean you had a tendency
to
troll, and I'm going to call it trolling, to troll the hardcore fans on purpose, like because you knew you would get the best reaction from them. You're gonna, what did you call them? What was your hashtag? Something hardcore, bitch ass hardcore, or punk hardcore? What's that?
But it's true, because this is why I call a hardcore fan bitch ass hardcore. And I'm glad, it's your show, I didn't want to curse on it, but if you bring it up, okay. So a bitch ass hardcore is a fanboy in disguise. For example, they bring up a subject as if they're doing it for the love of boxing and they're knowledgeable and this and that and the other. But what they're really doing is just being fanboy. So you're doing fanboy shit. You're talking fanboy shit. You don't even acknowledge that that's what you are, And so you're a little bitch ass hardcore. The other thing is that hardcore boxing fans tend to bitch and moan about every single thing in boxing. It's crazy.
Oh, agreed.
Everything is a complaint.
I mean, as an admin for a popular group on here, as an admin for a very popular group, right?
Go ahead.
After every fight that has it's a close fight with a questionable, who could win. It's a fucking robbery every time. Yes. And I know you as an admin, because in your group you actually got to approve the post, right? And I know that because I'm one of the admins, right? You got to approve the post, right? So you have to be like, God damn, man, because that's how I got for a while, bro. For a while, I was like, you know what? I'm done talking fucking boxing. Because every time a motherfucker that somebody didn't want to wins, it's a robbery. And it's like 50 million posts. And if you don't agree with them, you're a punk ass bitch, all that. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with all this.
It's amazing. And you know what? That would actually be a great segue for the Catterall Taylor fight. I don't know if you noticed that, but that was a great segue. But yeah. And the other thing that I'm going to give you a case in point, right? When Canelo Alvarez decided to fight, what's his name? The guy, the junior, Chavez Jr. Right? Yeah. So this is the difference between hardcore fans and casual fans. And I got to tell you guys, if you're a hardcore fan, you're really not that important for boxing, because you are not what boxing promoters want to attract. That fight was a great example of this, right? When he decided to fight Chavez Jr., right, wasn't a fight I was interested in at all. Didn't care about it. Knew it was a gimme fight with the weight clauses that Canelo had put in the fight. Wasn't gonna be much of a fight. That guy was struggling to make 175. You're gonna ask him to get to 164? It's crazy. Am I right or wrong? So everybody's bitching and moaning and whatever, but I said, I'm not going to buy the fight. I'm not going to see the fight. But I understood that it had to be made. Why? Because of the Chavez name. Canelo Alvarez. Canelo has enough haters. Chavez has Chavez comes from good lineage with that people are still supporting the family name. You know, it was like the Hatfield and McCoys, and it had a good storyline. It's gonna sell. So I understood it. I wasn't gonna lose my mind complaining about it. I'm just like, whatever. They're gonna see. And what? It sold over 1 million. I think it sold about 1 million. So all that complaining, all that bitching, and all that moaning was for what? For nothing. You understand? Now, on the other side, the hardcore boxing fan, I remember this. When Canelo Alvarez fought Liam Smith. Was it Liam Smith that he fought?
Yeah, he fought Liam. He fought Callum at 168.
No, but Liam Smith at 154.
At 154.
That was when he made his return to 154. Now I did this. I hope you remember this. I don't know if you were aware of this, but when one of the things that surrounded that fight before it was made was that all of a sudden there was no VADA testing for that fight. Right? Now, I don't know if you remember that Ring IQ had a real big thing about being accurate and concise, and you couldn't be lying or to throw you out the page and all this stuff. Remember that?
Yes. For those who don't know what we're talking about, Ring IQ is a very popular boxing page. Head admin over there is very knowledgeable guy, Julius
Fox.
From
Ring IQ. Yes, the same guy that has the popular boxing page now. So here it is. So when that fight had no VADA testing, the excuse was that Liam Smith didn't want to pay for the testing. So then Canelo Alvarez said,
from what I understood, that was the truth too. Though, from what I understand, Liam Smith didn't want to pay for the testing.
Exactly. So I saw what was being reported, but I don't accept the information that's being reported for face value. It needs to make sense to me. Number one, who the hell is Liam Smith to make any kind of call against Canelo, right? Number two, Canelo had been fighting at 155 for years. He drops the belt to Golovkin, right, to Triple G. All of a sudden, a guy that says, I don't need no belts and I'll drop the belts, decides that he's going to go down that one extra pound that he's been avoiding giving up for years. He's going to do it for Liam Smith, against Liam Smith. He goes down, makes that 154, and all of a sudden in that fight, there's no VADA testing. And that's exactly what I wrote. I wrote, listen, this makes no sense. There's something's fishy here. Basically, I wrote it even better. But I have a style. You know my style. I have a way of writing that incites riots. You know?
Yeah, people are angry. They cussing you out, wishing death.
Yeah. People like really come out like, yo, forget it. So now I had the Mexicans on me. I had the admins on the page. Are you saying that Canelo Alvarez is dirty? You saying that and even Julius said, listen, did you say that Canelo Alvarez is using PEDs on PEDs? I said, I was very careful. I'm concise on what I said. I repeated. I said, no. What I'm saying is that it's very interesting, and I went through the whole thing again. If you're not looking at that, it's on you. If you want to take, if you're really buying into Liam Smith dictating anything in a fight against Canelo, then that's on you. You understand? So I'm not gonna.
I get your point. But what was reported was.
So wait a minute, and then years later, when Canelo pops dirty. For what?
Well, Catterall. Let's be real. What he popped dirty for. It's something that helps you cut weight without losing a ton of muscle.
Exactly. He needed to get to 154.
Right? It's not like the people who be like, oh, Canelo's a juicer. He's not taking what he was caught dirty for. Isn't something that builds muscle, or it does help you cut weight, which it could give me because you're going to blow up unless you're fighting for the IBF strap, which has same day weigh-in, right? You can blow up in between that time, but at the same time, here's my deal with Canelo, bro. I don't hate on Canelo.
Neither do I. But go ahead.
He's not my favorite fighter right now. That would be probably in a way, but he's not my favorite fighter. But I'm not gonna hate on the dude either. I'm gonna tell it how it is. He popped dirty for something that you cut weight for, and it helps you keep muscle. It is something they give to race horses, right, to help them with endurance. And I get it, but they're acting like this dude's out there. He's popping like performance enhancing drugs in the form of like HGH, like steroids.
Right.
you know what I mean?
He's not big baby Miller. That's not his bag. But what was fair? It was a fair criticism then. My point is this: my focus is more on this so-called knowledgeable, hardcore boxing fans that think they know this and that, but they couldn't see the obvious. Like they couldn't even admit to themselves that this is even a possibility. Meanwhile, it's what makes sense. And that's all I'm saying.
Okay. The only reason I got into that is I wanted the people to know who exactly who they're going to be dealing with on the show tonight. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I call you a boxing troll. I love it. Because I'm the guy that likes, like when I watch WWE, I always went for the heel. I had to, as long as he talked good on the mic, hey, I loved him, right? But a little fast. Last weekend there was a slew of fights and there's a ton of upsets, so we're gonna get into that real fast.
Amigos de nuestras plataformas, estamos acá desde la Marina de Dubái, donde el cubano Guillermo Rigondeaux no pudo contra Vincent Astrolabio de Filipinas.
Was that?
I fell off the stream. Anyway, we'll get to that. Antuanne, because I was every one of the wrestlers are named Gary, so I'm gonna call this guy Antuanne. Antuanne was able to knock out Postol. I think he was favored in that fight. Anyway, also we saw a guy I'm very high on, Chris Colbert, get upset by Garcia. A lot of people thought Taylor got upset. I think the biggest upset, in my opinion, of the weekend didn't get very much fanfare, and that was Guillermo Rigondeaux losing, I believe, a 10-round decision versus a guy that actually dropped him. I think most people thought Guillermo Rigondeaux would just run through this guy, but that one to me was the biggest upset. It was a huge week. Let's start off with the Ancajas fight. What did you think of Martinez? I was shocked that I just didn't win the fight. I really thought he was going to win. I had a very bad weekend. I'm going to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. I only got one fight right. That was Taylor, and really, in my opinion, I got it wrong. We'll come to that later. But what did you think of that fight right there between Ancajas and Martinez?
Oh, Ancajas? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was I love the fight. And I'm glad that we start with that Showtime card. Because, for a long time I've been accused of being a PBC hater and things like that. But the truth is not that. I'm not a hater, but I just call things as they are. And I believe that card, it was a denouement. There was a moment of change, a moment of growth, where I've been noticing that the PBC fight, the quality of PBC fights have been getting a little better incrementally since TGB, Tom Brown Promotions took over, headlining and matchmaking. So that card was the culmination, I believe, a very pivotal moment in the way they're doing things at PBC. At least I'm hoping that they're going to put the onus on the product in the ring rather than, preserving somebody's zero, a fighter's zero. So that fight, that Martinez guy, was mesmerizing to watch. They said that his favorite fighter growing up was Mike Tyson. And he really did have, you could tell that he was mimicking the young Mike Tyson for years, because his side-to-side movement and the way his pressure in the chest and the way he would deliver, that combination that Mike Tyson used to throw, where you would go to the body into the head, or the head and the body. That combination that Mike Tyson is famous for. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. He was delivering that. And Ancajas, on the other hand, I believe it was a case of the chickens coming home to roost. And the thing is with Ancajas is that he left Top Rank. When they left Top Rank, he said that he wanted to make bigger fights, that he wanted to fight the best in the division. So you're at 115. You leave Top Rank at 115 to fight the best in the division. I'm thinking you're going to go to the zone route, because the best in the division are over there with Chocolatito, with Estrada, with Rambisat, with Quadras, and all them boys. They're over there. What do? You went inside with PBC and Showtime. For me, I remember I sent out this tweet that even his manager, what's his name, Sean, that guy, Knucklehead
Gibbons, Sean Gibbons.
Sean Gibbons even responded to, man, because the tweet was so right in your face, man. I was like, dude, you say you want to go to leave Top Rank to because you want to fight the best, and you signed them with the PBC. I said that's like mounting a submarine to get to the moon. so he responded to that.
What was Sean's response?
Crazy.
What was his response? What was his response?
I don't remember per se, but basically he acknowledged it. It was like it was a tongue-in-cheek. It wasn't a mad response. Like, I liked the way he responded, but he basically acknowledged it because the tweet went crazy for a while and it got to him. I guess that's why somebody kept retweeting and then he responded to the thing. But yeah, it was ridiculous. And so he gets in the ring with that guy. I'm thinking that this is my shit. I'm thinking he went in the ring thinking that, okay, this is another PBC special.
Well, it had been. He's only fought once exactly. Prior to this fight. He's only fought one time since 2019. Do you think it had a little bit? Because Jerwin hadn't lost. Jerwin hadn't lost in 2012. You know what I mean? Like, he was the huge favorite coming into this. I thought he was going to stop the guy at some point. And no disrespect to Martinez, I had watched him fight. I just didn't think. I thought we were going to get the guy before 2019 in Jerwin, and we didn't. I mean, I don't say he had a good fight. The guy just beat him. I'm going to be real. He just beat him. But do you think that him only having one fight since 2019 played a little part in that? Because I do.
I think that definitely, anytime you acquire that much ring rust. But no, I think Ancajas, one fight since one fight. When was his last fight? It was for July, or I'm sorry, was that April of 2019, and then he didn't have. Then he fought again. He fought in 2021. He fought one time in 2021, but he didn't fight. But what I'm saying is he didn't fight the rest from April of 19 all the way to 21, and then he didn't. Then he took almost a full year off again until 2022 when he fought. It was only off of a year by like a couple months. Right? I think it was April of 2021 is when he last fought, and prior to that he fought like in September of 19, if I remember right. Yeah. Somewhere around that time. So he had a pretty good layoff where he only got one fight in between that. I think it plays a part in it, man. I think it played a part in it, but guess what? He made his bed. He made his bed. The reason why he took that long layoff, he was being offered fights, but he didn't want to complete the 6-fight deal he had with TR. So he was like, getting his way out of there. So they finally let him go. He gets to the PBC. What the PBC still does right now is fight about one. Their fighters fight about one time a year. That's what they do. So if that's what you wanted, that's what you got. So I'm not even going to take that into consideration. But what I am looking at is that, I believe that matchmakers, the top matchmakers and Tom Brown and them are one of those guys. They're old school. They know what they're doing. I don't believe what happens on that fight in the ring is a mistake. So I think that that Martinez guy being promoted by Michael's Maidana, I think they have plenty of tape on him. I think they knew what his capabilities were. And, the odds were the odds because nobody else knew him. But I think that they knew him. And he got in the ring and he pounded that dude. And I got to give Ancajas credit for taking that beating. But at the end of the day, even when he was landing his straight, I thought Ancajas had more power than that in his left hand. This guy could take a punch because he did hurt Martinez. But as the fight wore on, Ancajas' punches became tantamount to pillow fighting. It was crazy. He was hitting him, but you could tell there was nothing there. You understand what I'm saying? And his corner
I think though that again, as we went back to the part that he's really only had one fight since 2019 prior to the fight, I think that his stamina was gone.
So he wore, definitely, and his corner didn't know favors. And there was a point in the fight where somebody pointed out, I think in a review of the fight, that that Ancajas was told by his corner to, hey, you're losing this fight. Don't hit him. Stop hitting Martinez to the body. Go up to his head because you need to score more points. Meanwhile, Ancajas, his best work was to the body, and then he abandoned. He hurt Martinez to the body when the one time that he hurt him, and then he stopped going there because his corner told him.
Well, that's because judges don't know how to judge fights. Let's just be real. I get why they were telling him that because I've seen this a million times. You see guys put in beautiful body work, and the judges act like they didn't even see it. You have to punch this guy in the head. And sometimes I think that the judges score off crowd reaction because sometimes I think they score guys for fucking landing punches because the crowd goes, oh, and they don't want to, you know what I mean? So
right.
That goes to scoring, like the way these idiots score fights, right? And we'll get into that in another part of our segment here. So wrapping up this fight because we got a couple more that we got to get into. Yes, I was shocked. I think the layoff. I think that they rematch again, though. I'm not sure that Martinez don't beat him again. If they do rematch again, who would you favor in that fight?
I think the other guy. It's going to get easier the second time.
Okay. Moving on real fast, we'll jump into another upset of the weekend, and it was an upset of a guy I was very high coming up into the fight on, and that is Chris Primetime Colbert. Late replacement. Him and this guy Garcia, I believe they had some prior beef because there was a ton of shit going on in social media leading up to that fight. Chris Colbert, a guy that he has some decent knockouts, but he's not a knockout artist. He is a guy that's supposed to be a sweet science guy, crafty, swift in the ring. He does have a very good mouthpiece on him, and he's talked shit about Shakur Stevenson from Tank Davis all the way to when it came to this guy Garcia. His quote for leading into the fight, I'm going to beat this dog shit out of this guy, but in the end, I'm afraid, as much as I do like Chris Primetime Colbert, it was Chris who got the dog shit beat out of him. And he was criticized in the fight for not he was like, Shakur Stevenson said, oh, this guy questioned, basically I'm going to paraphrase it, this guy questioned the dog and me. This motherfucker's down on the cards and he's running, right? Knowing he needs a knockout and he's running. So, and I get it. When you talk that much, you got to perform. You know what I mean? I was shocked by the outcome. I don't know how high you were on Chris Colbert. I was high on him coming into the fight. I still am. I'm not one of these guys that's going to say he was a hype job and blah, blah, blah because he lost one fight. Maybe he just didn't know enough about this guy. This guy was a late replacement, although, again, in my opinion, there was some prior beef there. What did you – how high were you on Chris Colbert coming into the fight? Were you surprised at the ass beating that he took? And are you one of the guys that thought, now, he's exposed?
No, I was never high on Chris Colbert. I thought he was a hoax. And but
to be fair, I don't mean to cut you off. To be fair, you think a lot of the PBC guys are hoaxes. So you're just gonna put that out there.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. Now, this wasn't a PBC thing. And I'm glad this is a great show, man, because I'm getting to get all this stuff off my chest. And it's not the PBC thing. It's the myth of the slick fighter. It's a myth. Okay? So I believe that what made Floyd effective at the end of the day was that he could deliver a punch that hurt you and you didn't want to get hit by it. Right? So when he morphed into that money May, like he did to Canelo Alvarez, right? Canelo Alvarez could talk shit, you didn't hurt me with the punches, but guess what? He hit him hard enough that he made him think twice about coming in. If you don't have that ability to at least hurt somebody, then you better be a dog, died, thorough, defensive genius. Okay? If you're not that, you got to be either or. Okay? But if you're somewhere in the middle where you're just slick and, but you don't have no power, eventually some guy who is determined and has a strong enough jaw and good enough power is going to knock you the hell out. Is going to beat your ass. And that's what happened to Chris Colbert. And that's not a PBC thing. It's the same thing that happened to Gabriel Flores, who just fought tonight. Okay? It's the same thing that happened to who I think there's a couple of fighters, but Malignaggi, I call him the Malignaggi effect. You understand?
Yeah, but this is why I respect Paulie so much. Because Paulie didn't have knock you out power.
No.
Right? Paulie was an excellent practitioner of the sweet science. He had to be. He's a multiple-time world champion. I respect him. People make fun of him, calling pillow hands, blah, blah, blah. If he's a pillow hands, and he beat some good fighters, man. He even got robbed a couple times. I'm going to be real. Yeah. Paulie got robbed a couple times.
He fought I like Paulie. Don't get me wrong. One of my favorite fights was him against the Bull. What's his name? That fight that he got robbed in, and then he ended up rematching him and beating the guy. The guy's from Texas. He ended up. He was pretty. They call him the Bull. You know what fight I'm talking about? Paulie Mali is one of his best wins.
I can't because he gave that big old speech at the end when he lost.
Yes, where he was.
I can't remember the dude's name off the top of my head.
But here's the point about Chris Colbert, because I'm going to tell you my view on what happened to him in that fight, and you brought up part of it. He could have beaten that guy if he were to have adhered to what his abilities are, which is elusiveness and boxing, like he did to in the last 2 rounds where he decided to avoid contact. He may have been able to do that for 12 rounds, but he went into the ring doing something else.
Juan Diaz.
Say that again?
I didn't mean to cut you off. It was Juan Diaz. I just remember it was Juan Diaz.
Juan Diaz, Baby Bull, the Baby Bull. So he went into the ring trying to prove a point. Well, the reason why he went into the ring with that mentality was because of his beef with Shakur Stevenson. He's trying to one-up him. He saw the performance that Shakur Stevenson had against Jamel Herring, right? And in that beef, I hope you don't mind, but when he was doing that back and forth that he did with Shakur Stevenson on the Boxing Voice, one of the things that came up was that who had more power, and he tried to say that Shakur doesn't have a lot of power. See, Shakur Stevenson has the kind of power that makes you not want to come in. The reason why he doesn't have more knockouts is because people are reluctant to attack him, man. He hits so hard. I mean, he hits hard and fast enough. You don't see it. It's like a flash. You don't want that. You don't want to experience that. So therefore, you hesitate to come in. You're not going to bum rush him, and he ends up with a boring fight. What happened with Jamel Herring is that he has a lot of heart. So he kept moving forward, and look what happened to him. You understand? So Colbert went into the ring with that mentality of in my estimation, my opinion. He went into the ring trying to do the one-upsman thing, and that's what happened. He met up with the wrong guy again. The matchmaking was exquisite. They gave him a 14-0 fighter who had been really fighting at 126 and was only having his second fight at 130. So Colbert had the advantages. You understand? But he didn't know that this guy could really, really punch. Had over 300 amateur fights, and was determined with a good jaw. And once that guy found out that Chris Colbert's punch wasn't going to deter him, it was all she wrote for the fight. And I think that Chris Colbert did not handle the after fight in the ring good. I don't think it's gonna. Maybe I'm wrong, but moving forward, he showed no humility. He wanted to go up to the guy and put his arms around him like he's still the boss. Like, you know, yeah, do this rematch. Like he doesn't care about it. Meanwhile, you got your ass beat and you're making no contrition about it. So how are you gonna grow from that? So, you know, Chris Colbert is what it is, man. Is what it is. Okay.
I agree. I think Chris may have overlooked the guy. I think he'll bounce back from this. In the rematch, he's got to find some answers that he couldn't find in this first one, because there was times that he looked lost. And I like Chris.
But there won't be a rematch.
He's a very good fighter. You don't think they're going to rematch?
There won't be a rematch. Huh?
Okay.
Hello?
Well, I don't think there was a rematch clause, but I thought that Chris Colbert had talked about possibly trying to get a rematch.
No, that's Chris Colbert talking.
Yeah.
There's going to be no rematch because there's no reason for that guy to rematch. That guy right now is in position to fight for the actual title.
Yeah.
If that guy...
I think Chris in his last fight had won this, like, what is it, the interim or whatever they want to call it. He had won that already. It's just something that I'm talking about. I'm getting up. I don't understand what the fuck. Okay, I win the diamond belt, which is supposed to is to put me in line to fight for whatever strap division I'm in, right? I'm supposed to. Why the fuck am I defending it? Because at the point that I'm defending it, why am I defending it, man?
Exactly.
I mean, what do I want to win it for? Because now I got to defend it, and if I lose it, now I don't get the shot where, like, what the fuck am I doing? Where did they start this shit? I thought it was always this guy wins it, and then, you know what I mean? Well, then after that, he'll move on, and whether he'll get a title shot or whatever. But I wouldn't want to defend the strap because you stand a chance of losing that motherfucker. Like we just seen Chris Colbert now has lost his opportunity. I believe it was putting him in line to fight Tank Davis, if I remember right. Or maybe
Gutierrez, Roger Gutierrez.
Okay. He was supposed to be in line to fight
at 130 of WBA.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in that. Well, I thought what 130 strap did fucking Tank win versus the
little guy?
Yeah. I think he won the 130 strap and the 135, and well, he was already one of the champions.
Yeah, but then he dropped the 130. He dropped the 130. Okay. He wasn't going to stay down there because he knows he can't.
That's right. I think they mandated him. They told him you got to, because one of the biggest WBA is attempting to get rid of all their minor straps.
Right.
And they're telling all their champions you got to either, because somebody dropped one of the belts. It was Tank. He dropped the 140. And said, no, you can keep that, and I'm going to stay here at 135, because it would have put him in line that he could have fought He could have fought Cambosis. They told him you could keep both. You can keep both, but we're getting rid of all this super champion or whatever they're fucking. I can't remember whatever this fucking trash is that they got, where we don't know who the real fucking champion is because they got so many. Well, we got the super champion, the franchise champion. You know what I mean? Who's the real champion? We don't have that answer. But they're trying. At least the WBA is trying to clear that up, right? And fucking, they told Tank you got to either drop one or the other. And he chose the 135. But so I do remember he got rid of that 130 now. But so anyway, I don't get why are they making these guys defend these fucking belts? It's just all about sanctioning fees and selling tickets and making money. You know what I mean? What's the point of if you're not gonna let the guy who wins this interim belt, this diamond belt, whatever you want to fucking call it out there, if you're not gonna let him get fucking an immediate shot at the champion, what the fuck is the purpose of the belt? I'm just saying, bro.
Hey, you make a great point. You make a great point, and it's all about sanctioning fees. Hopefully, the WBA is gonna clean up his act. But what my point about the as far as Colbert getting a rematch with this guy, if I'm that guy, what was his name? Garcia, some Garcia. So
yeah, Garcia.
If I were that guy, I would be very, very aware of anyone on my team approaching me about giving that guy, Chris Colbert, a rematch. I would fire them immediately. Any manager or anything like that, because you're being set up. And I think no one's going to come up to him with that idea. Like I said, he's now poised to actually fight Roger Gutierrez, who was supposed to fight Chris Colbert, but then I think he was injured, Gutierrez. So they ended up not, having this fight instead. But Chris Colbert didn't have to fight this fight. He could have waited for Gutierrez, but he chose to take this fight thinking it was going to be a walkover. So, is what it is, man. He's got to get his mind right.
So I'm moving on to an upset I brought up earlier, and that was Guillermo Rigondeaux losing, I believe, a 10-round decision. I had never even, and maybe it's just me, I never heard of the guy that beat him. I'm sorry, I was shocked. I thought Guillermo Rigondeaux would run through the guy. He didn't. Do you think this is the end of Guillermo Rigondeaux?
No, it's not the end of Guillermo Rigondeaux. The guy, there's too many hands in his pockets. I don't think he's seeing any of the money that's supposed to be coming. I think he has like about 5 managers or something like that, and it's a shame. So, he signed a 4-year, $10 million deal, or 4-fight, $10 million deal with Rock Nation.
Yeah, Rock Nation. I think we've discussed this. You think that's that's when his downfall was, by signing that contract with him?
No. I think his downfall was just him being him. They never
was able to get him in any fights, and I think we've talked about this before. You thought he should have signed a different contract because Rock Nation really had no power, especially in that division at that time when he signed the contract. They just gave him all that money.
Yeah, well, they were flushed with cash. But the point is that a lot of people blame, the Honorable Bob Arum for destroying Rigondeaux's career. But at the end of the day, all Bob Arum did was let him go with a belt and a win over Nonito Donaire. His shit, he was set up to really go on to bigger and better things. The thing that happened after that he beat Donaire was that he ended up laying an egg against Agbico. He didn't come to fight. HBO was so disgusted with his performance that they didn't want to see him back on the air. So Arum let him go. The guy, if anyone destroyed his career, I would say it was Heyman, in that Golden Boy was interested in making Leo Santa Cruz versus Rigo. That was the fight that everybody wanted to see. I don't know if you remember that. And Oscar De La Hoya had it all set up, and Heyman put the kibosh on it. That's
if you believe. That's if you believe Golden Boy. According, like the other side has a story too
true.
that Leo Santa Cruz and them really didn't want the fight. And I tend to believe that because I honestly, as much as I respected Leo Santa Cruz, I thought he was actually beating Tank up to the point Tank knocked him out. As much as I respect Leo Santa Cruz, Guillermo Rigondeaux at that time, Guillermo Rigondeaux beats the shit out of it. He's going to give him a boxing lesson.
Clearly. And Oscar really just wanted to make fights because he wanted to revive his company. It was fledgling. People wanted that fight. So it didn't happen, you know. And so then that's when Rigondeaux just started floating around and then ends up with Rockefeller. And then he gets one more opportunity to really change the trajectory of his career with Rockefeller when they give him, you know, a coveted co-main in a big pay-per-view, which was Cotto versus Canelo. He was the co-main. And he ends up, you know, shitting the bed again with an Agbiko, with the same type of performance that he did against Agbiko. Do you remember how he fought that fight? It was horrible. So he got him in his own way in his career. But people want to make excuses for him. I don't know why. And then finally, his swan song really ended with Lomachenko. When Lomachenko was at 126, Rigo was at 122. Lomachenko agreed upon fighting him at 124. Rigo then wanted like over $1 million for the fight, and then then they agreed with the money, but then he wanted Lomachenko to also have a rehydration clause. They walked away from that fight. So then he ends up fighting Lomachenko years later at 130 for $1 million. So I always goofed on that because I was like, wow, you could have fought him for that $1 million at 124. Now you're fighting him for $1 million at 130. Really, what you're really fighting him for is 500,000, 500K, because you've gotten up 2 weight classes. if you do that kind of math. But you know, Rigo, I can't stand. And I didn't see that fight, so there's not much more. Did you actually see that fight?
Yeah, I've seen it. He was beaten. The guy dropped him. He didn't look like the Ringo that we're accustomed to. You know what I'm saying?
And he's gonna keep.
He had spurts.
It's a shame because now he's gonna keep hanging on. He's gonna keep fighting, man. Look at what he did against Casimiro. You know, I thought actually, honest, I'm gonna be true. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I thought I would have given that fight to Rigondeaux. As
really, you would have given him that fight? I thought he lost.
You thought he lost against Casimiro?
Yeah.
See, most people did. I really just thought that he made Casimiro look stupid. And I know that they gave Casimiro the fight because of his aggression, but to me, it's supposed to be effective aggression. And his aggression.
Yeah, but you got to score at some point. You got to score at some point. And Ringo wasn't scoring. Now, his defense, there were some times that he made Casimiro look like a fucking brand new amateur, swinging at the air, off balance. Yes. And I agree with you there. But you got to score points.
I thought he would hit him maybe once or twice around, and I thought that was enough. I don't know.
Yeah, that was enough. Okay, like if you got to score, like I think you got to score. I thought that it was a closer fight than I think that what the scorecards gave at the time. If I remember right, I had it like 1 or 2 rounds, but I did think that the right man won the fight. I'm not. The reason I asked that is because as Guillermo Rigondeaux for me was a very special fighter. I watched him fight in the amateur ranks. Unbelievable. It's not his fault he got to come to the United States late because over in Cuba they don't let you turn professional. I believe Castro, one of the first things he did when he came into power was eliminate professional sports. Everything's amateur, so it makes money for the government, right? And he couldn't turn professional. He finally got over here late in life, but he was still special. I mean, like honestly, what he did to Nito Donaire.
Hey, that was a
people don't
special
understand
fight.
how special that was because Donaire was destroyed. I think Donaire had came into that fight. Did he have one loss before that? But that was only when he went up in weight. Donaire at that weight class was special. Knocking people out, called a once in a generation fighter at that weight class, and my man Rigondeaux at times made him look foolish. Made him look like he couldn't hit. He was swinging in the air. He was getting pot-shotted. As much as I love Diego Corrales, a lot like what Floyd Mayweather made Diego Corrales look like, just not as bad. You know what I mean? That was a beating. But there were times he made Nito Donaire look ordinary, and that's a special fighter. So I hate to see where Rigondeaux is now, and I hope he's not chasing the money because he did get into some bad things contractually. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not one of the guys. This is why I say I'm a hardcore fan, but I'm not super hardcore. I don't care about a guy's contract. I really don't care about a guy's purse. I don't give a damn what their pay-per-view numbers are because to me, that doesn't make you a great fighter.
True.
Right? It doesn't make you a great fighter. And definitely shouldn't have no conversation over who the best fighter is currently, is how many pay-per-view sales you are getting. That does not matter to me, period. And I hate it. I just hate but I think this. I don't want to see Guillermo Rigondeaux, this guy who was special that life just fucked by being born in Cuba, so got over here too late to really be a megastar over here. I just don't want to see him used as a gatekeeper, as a stepping stone.
Well, that's exactly where he's headed, brother. Because he's going to hang on. He's going to hang on till they drag him in a wheelchair to the old age home, man. And that's what he's doing. He should have been retired. I don't know. Going to Japan for this type of things. What's his upside right now? It's a long road back, but somebody will use him, to build up some young kid. But you know what? Maybe they won't, because he still has the capability of making a young kid look really, really bad. And you don't want that kind of performance on up and coming young prospect, you dig? So it is what it is.
Now, speaking of young prospects, let's jump into our next fight from last weekend, and that was Antuanne Russell, Gary Antuanne Russell. I thought he was winning the fight, but I thought that was an absolutely horrendous stoppage. I didn't understand the stoppage. I thought Gary Russell was, or Antuanne Russell was, landing some very brutal punches, clean punches. Postol, there was a few times I was like, wow, he just doesn't see that coming. And he was getting caught with a few of the same punches. I thought Russell was going to win the fight. He's a name that we were throwing out prior to that fight as a possible a future opponent for Josh Taylor. Should Josh Taylor stay at 140? What did you think of Antuanne Russell's performance? Are you high on him at 140?
I am. I believe the kid is. I really like the way that they're bringing him along. It's been a long time that PBC doesn't do this type of thing. Like I said, it's a change from what they used to be. For example, it was very appropriate for PBC to put him in against that guy that made Broner look bad. you know, that got robbed against Broner, the Puerto Rican guy. Like Antoine Russell, they put him in right after that.
You talking about
And-
Gradios, the kid from Chicago?
Yeah, the Puerto Rican guy that made Broner look bad. And so
So you're high on him as a prospect moving forward. Who would you like to see him fight next?
I believe he's ready for a shot at I believe he's ready for a shot at a vacant belt if they want to do that. I would actually, you know who I would like to see him fight next? That's a good question. I would like him to fight Subriel Matias. You think he would take that fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Antoine Russell will do it because the way they're bringing him along, and I do agree. I think he's ready for not necessarily Josh Taylor, but Josh Taylor move on and then do something. Yeah, and he said he's moving on. So a vacant strap, I have no problem with that. I'd like to see him fight Prograis. He did. I mean, by beating Postol alone, in my opinion, proves at least in the 140 division he's ready for one of the champions. Postol is a very experienced, a former world champion himself, a very experienced guy. Russell gave him, a pretty thorough beatdown. Postol had his moments, but most of it was a beatdown. I'm just going to be real, even though it was stopped a little prematurely.
I'm concerned that, a younger Postol may have done a lot better than a 38-year-old Postol did. I saw, and I'm not the type of guy that said, "Oh, he got hit too much," or "He got hit," because I hate when these boxing fans always criticize somebody for getting hit. And I'm like, "Yo, you fighting somebody who's fighting back, you're gonna get hit." But there were some shots when there were some moments where Postol got his groove, and he was timing him hitting him very clean on his way in, and somebody with better power would have capitalized on that. This guy Antoine Russell, and somebody brought up this point, and I was like, yeah, he actually does. He fights a lot like Sean Porter, but with more power. He has the same energy level, the same, in your face, in your chest, work rate and stuff like that. But he's got a lot more power in his punches than Sean Porter did. I'm high on him. I like him. I honestly, I have no complaints about how they brought him up. I think the Postol fight wouldn't have been a fight that I would expect from a PBC prospect. Those are the type of fights that they avoid. He was Postol was at the end of his career, or 38, but he definitely wasn't washed because some think he beat Jose Ramirez. So
I thought he did. I ain't gonna lie. I thought he beat Jose Ramirez.
Okay, so there you go. So I'm going to give all credit to Antoine Russell, but if your question is who I'd like to see him against next, I would love to see him against that guy Subriel Matias. I think that would be like, man, they could charge me $50 for that fight. I will definitely buy that pay-per-view. Not that they would.
Let's jump into the last fight, which is the most controversial fight of the weekend, and that was Jack Catterall taking on Josh Taylor, the undisputed lightweight world champion. I was shocked. I picked Josh Taylor to win the fight. My co-host, Twine B. Lividiu, couldn't be here tonight. He picked Josh Taylor to win the fight. Although he gave Catterall a better chance than I did. I thought Catterall was a good fighter. I just thought that Josh Taylor was the king of the division. Were you surprised by how that fight went, and did you think the right man won the fight? Because there was a ton of controversy after that.
I think that I can see how Taylor won the fight. What's his name? Catterall. Yeah, he had a good beginning, but Taylor, he took over in the last half, and it wasn't a question. Definitely, it was not a robbery. For these people to be painting this as a robberies, is totally unnecessary. In my estimation, I don't think it's called. It's appropriate for the for the decision to be labeled a robbery. But would it have been a nice? Catterall did himself no favor by getting a point deducted. And
I thought that after he got that point, he'd turn on the gas and back on, and he didn't, as you stated in the latter half of the fight. And I'm not gonna say he was like what we've seen De La Hoya do versus Felix Trinidad, but he didn't have that same energy that he had early on in the fight, which could fatigue or whatever to set in. And Josh Taylor is a very good fighter. So I think that's what, in my opinion, I thought he should have edged the fight out by one or 2 points. He didn't. I'm not gonna say it's a complete and utter robbery. I was just like, wow. But I think what happens is a lot of people they get caught up in the knot. Oh, he knocked him down. They knocked him down. You know what I mean? That's not how you score boxing. Boxing is scored round by round, bro. You know what I mean? Right. Just because you drop me in round 1 don't mean you win the fight if we go 12. You know what I mean? Exactly. So Catterall didn't do particularly after he got that point deduction. I thought he'd turn it on. And then Josh Taylor, when he got the point deduction, I thought, maybe Catterall come out a little more aggressive. He didn't. I think that in the end, that may have been what cost him the fight. But I think, too, at the same time, the judges were a little bit favorable to Taylor because a couple of them scorecards were ridiculous.
Hey, he was the A side. It's in Scotland. It's par for the course. It's the same reason why I don't think that the Jeff Horn fight between Manny Pacquiao was a robbery.
Oh, I don't either.
I saw the. Oh, good. Because I think what happened with that fight. And let me tell you something. In a roundabout way, I believe that, unfortunately, Terrence Crawford did not get the credit that he deserved for beating Jeff Horn because of this idiot's reaction. What's his name? The announcer, Teddy Atlas. Because it was Teddy Atlas that made this turned into that fight into a robbery. What I saw in that fight,
Teddy Atlas basically punked, and I loved him. I love Timothy Bradley, man. I love Timothy. He gets
yes.
Because Timothy Bradley doesn't. Now I get like what some people say they want to call him maybe it's not like a coon or Uncle Tom or whatever, but I think sometimes Timothy Bradley keeps it a little too real. You know what I mean? Because in his opinion, it doesn't break. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people want him to take a particular side because of his ethnicity, and I don't think Timothy Bradley's built like that. And I believe he was in the military. You can't be built like that in the military, bro. Everybody's the same. We're all brothers here. We're all gonna, if we're gonna die, we're all gonna die. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the way Timothy Bradley approaches life.
Dude.
That rubs some people the wrong way.
Yes.
But Atlas basically punked him that night into saying,
it's a submission. It's a submission. Listen, let me just tell you this. I really hope you don't mind. As soon as you can, you need to see this Richard Torres, the top ranked sign, that heavyweight from the Olympics.
Yeah.
Guy, he was just in the ring. I'm actually saw the fight right now. That guy is big. I thought he wasn't that big. He's huge. It's his fighting style is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's like, yo, dude. It's like watching a black and white 1950s Rocky Marciano type thing. His style is real wild, but he hits hard. He's like a bull. You got to see this anyway. But I digress. Sorry about that. Whenever you get a chance, you're gonna enjoy that. He just knocked the guy out. Yeah, he just knocked the opponent out. But it was the craziest. His movements, and he's fast. He's like this big, hulking dude. Like he's built like just like Rocky Marciano. He's built like him, except bigger. You understand? Like those kind of thick neck, shoulders thing. He's built like just like him, bigger. But this guy, he's fast. He's got fast hands and fast feet. He made the spin move, and it's so aggressive. It's hard for me to explain it. You got to watch it yourself, and then please let me know what you think when you see it. So
I'm gonna check that out. So just to close out this topic, you're one of the few people. I'm just gonna be real here. You're one of the few people that believe Josh Taylor edged out the fight. I think that he got lucky with the decision.
I didn't say that I think he edged out the fight. What I'm saying is that I could see how he got the decision.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we're both on the same agreement that it was a rather closer fight than what was made out by the boxing media. Exactly. The boxing media made it out that it was just this blowout fight that Catterall just. I mean, I do get the point. I think one of the judges only gave Catterall like 3 rounds, man. And I was like, what fight was this guy watching?
In fights like that, where it's not really a robbery, but then it's that one card that the anomaly, and that doesn't that makes that kind of casts a stench all over the decision itself. And it's a shame, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that fight. There's been bigger robberies.
Much bigger robberies.
Than this fight. So, but people want to sensationalize everything, and who's got time for that?
Absolutely.
So,
word broke out this week that Demetrius Andrade has accepted terms for a WBO interim title fight with Zach Parker. I believe that's going to be at 168. Because Andrade will be giving up his strap to move up to 168. He's really chasing that Canelo fight. What do you think of Andrade moving up to 168, having never actually, really, in my opinion, as good as I think Andrade is, never beat anybody of note at 160? So I don't know how his move up to 168 is going to be, because I never seen him beat anybody worth mentioning at 160.
Well, I'm glad you bring this up. I think that fight has the potential to have been won by the purse bid. And I'm going to say this to explain myself with that. I believe that it's a fight that Bubu Andrade is going to have to actually show out to win. Now that it's going to be taking place in Zach Parker's backyard, for the same reasons that we talked about with Josh Taylor and Catterall, and the same reasons that we talked about with Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao. Although that Pacquiao's Pacquiao, his name alone should have overcome that. But it is what it is. A lot of home cooking. Bubu Andrade is not a bigger name, as a big enough name to sway anything. He's not walking in as a champion. What's his name? Daniel Jacobs just lost controversially to John Ryder in the UK. So what I'm saying is that I believe that fight was won by the purse bid. And for Bubu Andrade, which is ironic, right? Because Bubu Andrade, after fighting years of mandatories that nobody cared to see him in, had expressed any interest in seeing him engaged in, he finally gets a mandatory that people actually wanted to see. Him against Janive Alinjanula, right? People wanted to see that fight. I wanted to see that fight. And no, nobody's like knocking down the doors to see the fight. It's not like there's not this groundswell of interest. But any interest in any fight by Pupu from Pupu.
Well, I think what's sad is I think people were more interested in seeing the other guy.
Yes.
I can't say his name right, but I think they were more interested to see
is
he for real? Is he a real? Is he a real deal? I think that's sad because we're talking about a guy who's was champion for a long time, and they were more interested in seeing this guy.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. But the point is that he was in a fight that generated interest finally. And then he decides to, drop the belt. It's ridiculous.
Well, they're all chasing Canelo, and it's sad. It's sad.
Exactly.
They all want that payday without earning the payday.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, David Benavidez, you were the 168-pound champion. Canelo made it clear he wanted to unify the 168 fucking division before he ever went down there. That was his plan. David Benavidez, you lost your belt at the scale, buddy. So you lost your opportunity. You still, in my opinion, ain't fought nobody.
Exactly.
Right? You ain't fought nobody.
Exactly.
Charlo ain't fought nobody. Like, you don't want to fight each other. Why do you deserve a fucking Canelo opportunity that I should be fucking demanding Canelo give you one? I'm sorry, go beat somebody, and then I'll demand it.
Exactly. So Andrade would have, that he's avoided, that nobody wants to fight him. Well, guess what? It's because he's made himself avoidable by not bringing anything to the table. So he had an opportunity to get involved in a semi-interesting event, and if you emerge victorious and make him look stupid, now people will understand why you're being avoided. Maybe you created a buzz. So the thing is, Triple G was on the same boat. Triple G was on the same boat as far as nobody wanting to fight, right? Triple G was on the same boat as people dropping belts just to see him. Like, he was real boogeyman, not this make-believe boogeyman that Bubu Andrade is. Triple G was for real. But how did he overcome that? By fighting 3 times a year, putting on performances, and creating for himself the interest and grindswell that finally got him the Canelo fight. That's the part of the story. And Andrade isn't doing that. This was an opportunity for him to change that. So he moves up, goes to 168, thinks that Eddie Hearn is gonna win the purse bid and put him back in Boston, in New Hampshire, in a rec center. And here comes Frank Warren and takes this fight from him, and now puts it in the UK. He's going to have to show out. It's going to be very interesting.
Zach Parker has a very good chance to win this fight.
Exactly. And Zach Parker may not have to beat his ass. Zach Parker may just have to pressure him, have him avoid him, and he'll get the benefits of the rounds just because it's his hometown. So it's a very precarious position. I'm very interested, in how Demetrius Andrade is going to handle this. I think it's ironic,
Okay.
So.
Well, let's jump over to our third topic of the evening, and that's sanctioning bodies have decided to cut Russia off from title fights due to their recent invasion of the Ukraine. I don't understand why we're
What's
punishing.
one thing got to do with the other? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're punishing the fighters. They don't make political decisions. They don't decide to go to war, and they don't press no buttons, quote unquote, figuratively, on launching any missiles. Well, I don't agree with this at all. I think it's unfortunate that we're in this position, but I don't see the point of punishing anyone because they're born in Russia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, listen, you invited me on this show. I'm gonna be honest and tell you what I feel is
straight up. No, we I tell you, be you.
So
stay with you.
This is a product of the unfortunate control, leftist control that we're under. And, they have to change the narrative and they have to have bad guys, in order to create a groundswell of support for going to war and possibly starting World War III. Because I don't really want to get into it, but the fight, the war is not about what people think it is about. There are it's a war of one country wanting to keep their traditions and fighting off progressivism and leftism and globalism, and wanting to defend their traditions against that onslaught. And over here, the spin control in the media in this country needs to, unfortunately, the media is controlled by the left, and it's the same thing, that happened. I don't even want to get into it, but the point is that this is what I see. And they have to create the bad guy. Now the Russians, the bad guy. Everybody, oh yeah, we have to get him. We have to defend Ukraine and this. No, man. You know what? That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement that punishing the fighters at the end of the day, regardless of how we feel about what's going on over there, is not the right decision. I don't think we punish the fighters.
No, one thing.
But unfortunately, they made that decision. It really sucks. But they, at the same time, they're not punishing any of the Ukraine fighters, but all the Ukraine fighters seem to be over in Ukraine, willing to fight with their country. Salute to them.
Right.
All right, let's jump into our last topic of the night. That's going to be the preview for tomorrow night. I believe it's a 12-round fight. That's going to be between the living legend, in my opinion, Roman Chocotito Gonzalez fighting Julio Caesar Martinez. I believe Martinez is moving up in weight. I believe he was a champion. Was he the champion below the weight class below that, or? And he's moving up. A lot of people think this is a dangerous fight for Chocolatito. I think Chocolatito is going to win the fight, even though the other guy's younger, and the other guy is extremely aggressive. He reminds me of a younger Chocolatito. The way he fights, I don't think he has the movement inside the pocket that Roman has, but he is that guy that he throws these beautiful combinations. He has very good power for this weight class. He did, I believe, was his last fight or the fight before, have a little bit of an issue with his opponent, but he was able to overcome that. But I think this right here, he's fighting a guy who's seen it all. Even in his last fight, there were people that thought Roman could have edged that out. You could make the argument that Roman won the fight. I thought Estrada won, personally. But if they had given the decision to Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, I would have been completely up in arms about it. But who do you think? Do you think that Martinez has a pretty good, solid chance here?
I certainly hope not. But Martinez is an interesting fighter. I saw him. He was the guy that beat the British fighter. What's his name? What's the name of the fighter that he beat? Martinez beat. I saw that fight. It was an Eddie Hearn special with his B-level fighters that he parades around clubs. Anyway, so he didn't show me enough in that fight to make me believe that he's gonna be able to overwhelm Chocolatito, who's bigger, more experienced. If Chocolatito has anything left in the tank, if he didn't expend it all against Estrada, I fully expect for Chocolatito to stop this man. Meaning,
the fight I was thinking about was Jay Harris, which was 4 fights ago. I think that he was fighting Jay Harris. I thought that was a closer fight than 2 of the scorecards, if I remember right, were close, and one was
right.
atrocious. His last fight, I think he fight? Arroyo, the kid McWilliams, Royal McWilliams,
right.
And he beat him. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if Martinez pulls this out. I am like you. I hope he don't. Unfortunately, I'm not hating on the kid. I like him. I like watching him fight. Right. It's just Roman has a special place for me.
Yes, me too.
He was a guy I made a very good argument for. Really, really, the whole thing about him was my defending him when he became the #1 pound-for-pound fighter. To me, that was a litmus test. When Roman became the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, if you were bitching, saying, "Oh, this guy, who is he? Don't fight nobody." Then I knew for right there, you don't watch anything below 147.
Right.
That's why I couldn't stand these guys. Yeah, I couldn't stand these guys. Like, no disrespect to the YTBC or whatever they call themselves. They sit over there and they shit on this man, right? Shit on him.
Right.
And I could just tell by the way they talk, they really never watched Roman fight.
Exactly, but they wouldn't admit it. And that's a bitch ass heart.
Right? They're sitting over there bitching with their own agenda, and I get they have their own agenda, and I'm not here to shit on anyone over there. I like some of their content, right?
Right.
But when they got to shitting on Roman for being the #1 pound fighter in the world, I was like, you know what I mean? You guys just aren't watching the lower divisions, bro. Yeah, that screamed that to me. So I don't usually pick like a favorite, like who I'm going for this guy in this fight, unless it was like one of my few guys I would consider my favorite fighter, Manny Pacquiao, Arturo Gotti, yada yada, Kevin Kelly, yada yada yada. Right? Very very select few. Other than that, I didn't care. I don't care. I can watch a million fights and not have any type of emotion about who won the fight. It's not like watching Oklahoma football. When Oklahoma loses, I get pissed off, right? It's not like that for boxing with me. But Roman was a guy I actively cheered for. I'm going to cheer for him in the fight. I think he is going to win this fight. I'm picking Roman. I think it's going to go the full 12, but I'm picking Roman by unanimous decision. How you got the fight playing out?
I believe that Roman is going to basically outbox him and overwhelm him with his punch output. I believe that this is one of the rare instances in which Chocolatito is gonna probably be the bigger fighter. I'm thinking maybe, and I believe he's gonna get in there and just basically outmuscle him and outmaneuver him, and just overwhelm him with punches. I don't believe this is gonna go the distance, and Chocolatito will prevail in the end, and maybe some mid to late round stoppage. I would say I would say it's gonna go at least 9 rounds, but he would stop you.
So you got Roman by stoppage. I'm taking him by unanimous decision. We'll see how it plays out. Real fast before we close out the show, Alexis, I want to thank you for coming on. Antuanne couldn't be here tonight, and I wanted to have a co-host with Augie. to have a little more, interaction. You did a beautiful job, man. Love to have you on again in the future. Do you want to tell everybody once again where they can follow you, about your page, and then we'll close out the show?
Oh, well, the boxing page on Facebook is hashtag Next Level Boxing Talk. I'm also on Twitter by hashtag Next Level Boxing Talk at Asabache 137. And so on YouTube is hashtag Next Level Boxing Talk. Small page, a few videos, have some interesting insights, and I think that what people will get from me is a fresh perspective on on things that most are talking about.
You do.
And also,
you do have a strong. You have your own opinion about some things. You're very strong-minded in those opinions, and at the same time, I think you push a little button just to do it because it's fun for you. You like the reactions. You know what I mean? It's just like your what I mean? I don't always agree with you, but I always love seeing them because I know there's going to be about 25 comments in the comments are the best thing is seeing how people react.
Yeah.
So I always like your posts, man. But anyway, it was great having you on. Once again, if you don't want to talk boxing, head over to hashtag Next Level Boxing Talk. So you can talk to Alexis. I'm in there. I don't get to spend as much time in there as I used to back in the day. My job's changed a little bit, but I drop in from time to time. But Alexis is always there. There's a bunch of other really knowledgeable guys in the group. Shout out to another group I love, which is Boxing Elite, ran by Greg Carey. Amazing job they do in there.
Yes.
If you really want to talk to real fighters, guys who've been in the ring, Kelly Pavlik, I know Teofimo Lopez is in there. It's Boxing Elite. Another group I've loved since its inception, which is Ring IQ with Julius. I thought, those of us who've been around the Facebook boxing thing, we knew, from the beginning, there was IOTBA and they were all over there, and then they split up. And I don't know. I followed Julius over his new page and everything. Shout out to Correa as well. I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm just saying what happened. That's what happened.
Brother Correa Bradshaw. Definitely. Hey, can I ask you a question? Where can people find this podcast? Is it on iTunes? Is it?
It's right now. We're not on iTunes yet. I'm gonna look into moving it. What I need to do to get us. Whether I got to upload and download again or whatever it is, I'm gonna try to get over there too. But we're on here mostly on Facebook is what we push. We are on YouTube.
Okay.
I hate YouTube, bro. I'm just gonna be real. I had 25,000 subscribers at one point, and they kicked me off the platform.
Oh man.
So yeah. Now I got one over there. I'm not pushing it. I'm not sharing it. And it's still building slowly. I got about 500, 600 followers over there. You can find me on TikTok at Highlight Film. I'll run the banner real fast. It's Highlight, but the eyes are all ones. Highlight Film. I put a lot of stuff over there. I got some videos doing pretty good right now. They're 35. I got a couple videos that I posted last week. They're hitting like 35K. But you can follow me over there. There's always some fun discussions. Are you over on TikTok?
No, not at all. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, you got to get you a TikTok account, man. You got to get your TikTok account, bro. You'll love it. The boxing trolling over there will be taken to another level. Oh man, you'll love it over there, bro. I put a video up. I put a video up of Floyd Mayweather winning his first world title, and it started off a firestorm because motherfuckers were like, "Oh, this is edited." Like, these haters. This is edited to make him look like he actually fought. And I'm like, no. What you don't know is that Pretty Boy Floyd was a completely different animal than what we've seen Floyd Money Mayweather. So I started every time, like one of them would say something smart, I'd go back and I would edit a quick video of him beating up Corrales, a quick video of him beating up one of the guys down on the lower weight division. Because, like, the truth be told, Floyd was a fucking dog in the lower weight divisions. Floyd went to war a couple times, bro. You know what I mean? He fucking stood. He didn't just stand in front of Diego Corrales. He moved around, but he beat the shit out of that man. And I have a very high regard for Diego Corrales. Don't get me wrong. He beat the hell out of him. You know what I mean? He beat the hell out of Charlo Gotti. He didn't run from them dudes. He beat the hell out of them. I mean, that's who Floyd was down there. That's who he was. If you just now started watching Floyd at 147, you missed the best of Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion, as a fan. I'm not going to say this the best of him as a fighter, because that was later on when he became more defensive. As a fighter, he was better. But the most exciting time to watch Floyd Mayweather was when he was down in the lower weight division, because he would go to war. You know what I mean? A couple times. What was the guy's name? Casemiro?
Right. Casemiro.
What was that dude? Remember when he broke his hand in that fight and still beat the shit out of it? I mean, it is what it is. So, but anyway, I thank everybody who came in. I want to send a special shout out to Augie Sanchez. Once again, I want to thank Alexis, man, for coming in and being my co-host for tonight. We're going to get you back on the show, bro. I think we had spoke before about coming on. It just the timeline didn't work out. But I'm glad you came on tonight. And salute everybody who came in tonight and everybody who watched in the next couple of days. We're out. Have a wonderful weekend. Peace.
All right.